كبرات أحوتنا حتن حجين تصبيو زوعلنا program صبو خير الله so far let's hear from the youth نعديتات سمعنا ناي كبرات أحوات سمعنا حجين مخافتن من إسيات انتهي بلاتن مسيات أبزي دقة أو صايب دياسبورا توليدن زعبيع مباركس حجي بمن كنجمر مفتخو بكبرت حفتنا دكتور يورسالم تسفاي كبي اريا يورسالم تسفاي نيش the introduction تلكي تسقى go ahead we're going to start a youth session. This youth session is to represent all the youth, Eritrean youth in the diaspora. These young sisters or daughters were born and raised in the West, so we want to hear from them. What do they think? What today's theme for the International Women's Day is break the bias. It is break the bias. What bias do we want to break? And how do we want to break it? And when do we want to break it? This is the message that these bright young sisters are going to give us. We're going to start off with Dr. Yerusalem. If you're available, please go ahead.
Dr. Yerusalem, Captain መንእሰያት ኣብዚ ዝተማሃራ ዝወዳእያ ካብዚ ንዓዲ ኸይዳ ቤት ትምህርቲ ክትምህር ከተገልግል ከይዳ ነይራ እያ ካብ ኣሜሪካ she's in Bay Area 3 ዓመት ኣገልጊላ ከዓ መፅያ እሞ ተተሞክራ ባዕላ ክትነግረና እያ Go ahead, Dr. Yerusalem.
First, it's such an honor to be in this moment. I'm just completely out and very proud, especially Mama Tsaga. Thank you for putting all this together and everyone else who helped you. And especially seeing Mama Ababa and Professor Alganish and all these amazing women, every one of you guys. I just want to say, you give us wisdom and courage. So thank you for that. And as an Eritrean diaspora, like I said, I'm sort of like a hybrid of both Eritrea. My parents, I came here when I was 8 years old. So I lived most of my life in America. But knowing our history, I've always had the ambition to go back to Eritrea to help. And that's what I did when I finished my PhD. I was teaching at Asena Health Science, Orta Medical School, 2 years in Asmara Health, in Orta Medical School, and 1 year in conjunction with Orta. I did a year of teaching at Asmara Health Science. I was basically teaching nurse, public health, pharmacy students, as well as medical and dental students. And it was both an amazing but also very painful experience because we have a lot of work to do, as you guys all have mentioned it. And it's a hard, we have a lot of work to do, and we definitely need to unite and work towards, bringing some real justice, not only in Eritrea, but even living in diaspora. I think we need to still continue to give each other hope. So I guess the question is, how do we break the gender bias in our daily life? As individuals, we need to decolonize our mind. In terms of how we view ourselves as women and how we see each other as women. And we have to not only believe it for ourselves, we have to believe that we have the right to live free from violence, discrimination, to enjoy the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health, and to be educated, to own property, to vote, to earn equal wages, and also to define our own role as women. Whether we stay home or we're working women, we need to value each other. And more importantly, I think it's very important as women, we understand and create spirituality that helps us to grow, empower us, because a lot of times, a lot of these religious institutions, faith really doesn't really give us that much strength. And I think it's important as individual and collective to work on something that would empowers us as women, just as human being, and for that matter, because nobody chose to be on this earth. So it's very important that we all collectively work. And I feel like women have more the ability to change and empower, but we can't empower others when we ourselves are not empowered. And more importantly, I think, as human beings, as women, we need to also encourage each other's ambitions and not give each other's bias. In addition to that, we need to also realize as women, we come in all different forms. Some of us are mothers, some of us are single, some of us are married, some of us are divorced, and some of us never been married. And it's okay. We need to be able to collectively work together in order for us to break this bias, because I think the greatest pain is what we do to ourselves. And if we don't have a great understanding of who we are, then we become, always a victim of a continuation of a struggle. So I ask everyone, especially the youth, to understand that it's very important to understand who we are. We don't choose our parents, but we definitely do choose what kind of person we become as a human being. And in terms of gender and, whether you're male or female, it should be, it shouldn't define who you are. You are a human being and you should be here to aspire. And then you need to be an example in an everyday aspect. And one of the things that I really strongly believe, especially in our culture as an individual, is that how do we promote gender equality in our daily life? Well, one thing is, if you're a mother, you definitely need to share household chores to all of your children, whether they're male or female. Everything needs divided equally. And more importantly, childcare equality in terms of, the father getting involved in all aspects. I think it's important for men to share all aspects of taking care of their children, because that's how we are going to be able to heal from this bias that not only do we have it as an individual, but even how we pass it on to our children and even how we model it to our husband. In addition to that, obviously, is watch for signs of domestic violence. As women, when we see some injustice with our, any women, whether we like her or not, if there is any kind of violence, we should provide her with resources and support. Because when a woman is a victim of a violence, she will, again, carry on that trauma. And that's been an example of our own culture. One of the things that I noticed in Eritrea is I met a lot of handful women who were victims of rape, and they were forced to marry men who raped them. And can you imagine the level of trauma that's been passed on? These are our brothers, these are our husbands, some of them are even our friend. So it's so important for us to, to understand that violence, there should be no room for violence, especially against women. Because women, we give hope, we give the inspiration. As the lady said in the beginning, and Gillian, she said it so well, we raise the priest, everything that is in the world, they come from us. And so when we're well taken care of, then we're able to aspire for higher things. So it's really important as individuals, collective, we look after each other. And more importantly, the other thing that also as women, we should also do and even encourage our partners to do is support mothers and parents, because a lot of times, there's a lot of women without a father. There's a lot of single women. And so it's very important that we provide support network for women who are single mothers, and also even for families. If you're a single person who don't really have a lot of responsibility, volunteer your time to help and mentor a young boy, a young girl. That's another way to break the bias as a woman, who has a lot more handful time. And this will give you an experience, not only just men, but also I encourage men to also mentor young women, because when we extend ourselves, we learn. And when we learn, we do better. So that's something that I would also to consider. And then the other thing is reject chauvinistic and racist attitude. One of the things that I hear a lot of times women would say like, oh, it's okay for women to be hit, or, it's fine if my husband hits me, or when they see a woman betrayed or hurt, somehow they always ask, well, she deserves it. Nobody deserves to be hurt. Nobody, you could have disagreement and agreement, but nobody should not be under any circumstance belittled and be undermined. So as women, let's not encourage violence. Let's figure out a way to help. First, let's heal ourselves, and then second, let's not encourage wrong behaviors that is not presentable in our that would not be reflective of what we want to see at the end. Because one thing that we need to understand is feminism or women's right is not just for women, it's humanity, because women bear children, we bear the world. So for us to feel a sense of hope, for us to feel a sense of justice, is justice for all, because by nature, that's who you are. And so to take away from one woman is you're basically destroying a whole family, a whole generation. So let's stop. And whenever we hear a chauvinistic, a racist attitude, let's stop it. And then the other thing is, as individuals, because at the end of the day, as mothers, as women, as a human being, as Mama Ababa said, let's be first human being. When you're a human being, then you're able to see everything, especially when you're a mother, there's even more additive to you because you create this amazing living that, that exists on this earth. So for that matter, one of the things that we need to do is we need to listen and reflect. We need to be able to question ourselves, because a lot of the issues that we have, it's not even men. I think it's our own bias of what we have of ourselves based on race, religion, sexuality, and gender. So we need to figure out what that is. And we need to collectively, openly talk about it. In addition to that, too, also, for some of us women who have powers and influences, let's make sure that if we have a power to hire women to create equal wages, let's make that. Because one of the experiences that I had when I was in Eritrea as an instructor, as a professor, is that I had the ability not only to coach, but create seminars, invite various different Eritrean women in Eritrea to let these women know, hey, especially these young girls, because one of the things that was going on is that Many of them would either finish their medical degree, dental school, or even law school, all of this other stuff, but they go back and become a mother, and that's all they do. And I was trying to remind them that, you know what, their role participating in society is so important. And one of the ways that I did is I would invite different kinds of engineer, doctors, like Dr. Tiblitz, or a hormone engineer, various different kind of women that I felt like they were example, to let these young women to know that they could do, if they could do it, you guys could do it. But the sad irony of it is that a lot of our people are in such an oppressive situation right now. They're in a survival mode. So it was a very difficult and sad situation. And more importantly too, the other thing that I also think that we should also do as women is harassment and racism. We should have zero tolerance. That's one thing I never allowed when I was in Eritrea. When I saw a young girl raped, I took the initiative to ensure that she got justice. And it was very hard because one of the saddest part that I experienced from that is that I struggled to fight women more than men. You know, the lady who's her brother who raped the young lady was more concerned about her brother than the young lady that he raped. And it was so sad that people kept telling me, this is not your business. And all I could tell them, it is my business, because this young girl who's forced to have a child, she's going to raise a child, and how bitter is that child going to be? How much is the trauma going to be transferred? And that's one of the main reason I think as people, we really have struggled. So it's really important for us to really, really know who we are, you know, and to find hope and to create a network. And I'm so grateful to see all of these amazing women. And one of the things that I just want to end with this is that, because I really believe, again, in order to break the bias, it all starts with decolonizing or freeing our own, you know, how we view ourselves as women. And I'd like to end it with this poem, and I hope it makes sense to you guys, but it says, "Dear self, I will not assault my mind or spirit with lengthy discourse about the horror against or the virtue of being a woman. I will begin right now where I am, getting to those places. I can go if I choose. I will begin with the first step according to spiritual law, doing all that is required for healing, transformation, and evolution. You must bear your soul, they say. But I know you cannot clean fish. You cannot clean the fish and leave the water dirty. I am the fish. I am everlasting substance. The waters are my motion. They must be clean. They must be.
Mommy, it hurts.
I'm sorry. That was my son talking to me.
Give me a Band-Aid.
Okay, I'll give you a Band-Aid. I'm sorry. My son has interrupted me. Thank you.
Can you
Sorry.
give me a Band-Aid?
I will get you a Band-Aid. Let me finish this first, my love, okay? They must be clean. I must let the water out and fill myself with new thoughts, new feelings, new energy. Then, only then will I be able to feel the multitude. And the multitude is our children, our community, our husbands, our brothers, everyone else. So we have to start with ourselves on a daily routine, not praying with ourselves, praying with our creator. You know, we need to create an image of a creator that embraces us, that makes us feel amazing. And I just want to say, with all, you know, like I said, what I witnessed in Eritrea, for me, it was a very heartfelt, and it's an ongoing thing. And I would hope and pray that as an Eritrean diaspora, especially as women, we work together, because at the end of the day, if I don't look good, you don't look good. If you don't look good, I don't look good. So we need to work collectively. And with that, I would like to say thank you to everybody else.
Wow. Wow. Everybody was impressed. You can read all the wonderful comments on the chat.
I want to encourage that. Saga. Can I come in?
Okay. All right.
First of all, I would like to salute Jerusalem, and I'm so impressed. I'm so proud of you. But in short, she is telling us, know your value, know your equality. Mm-hmm. That's what she was explaining. So thank you. We have hope for next generation. Please be a leader. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jerusalem Tesfai. It has been such an honor to have you with us, even though we took some time from your son. We apologize for that. So thank you for a wonderful message. You did explain it really well. Today's theme is break the bias. Okay, so you did do a wonderful job explaining what that means. So this is the youth session. كبرات حوتنا حتنا منእسيات نزارب زلنا كم أون هنا دحري أنت متسيخي. Sorry, just give me a couple more minutes. All right. So كاب Orange County, California. We have two youngsters, Aya Saeed and Sophia Bashir. Aya, nishteinata intro khibakin. Aya Saeed is a student pursuing a Bachelor of Science, a degree in Healthcare Administration with a minor in Information Systems. She previously worked as a student event coordinator for the Legacy Program at Cypress College, where she had the opportunity to organize events for the African American program cohort. She is passionate about the intersection of social justice and healthcare and believes that a sustainable and equitable healthcare system that recognizes health as a right, not a privilege. She will percolate into different facets of society. She hopes to utilize her degree to advocate for equitable healthcare system. She currently works as a research assistant on campus, focusing on a study on service providers' perspectives on the service provision process for Latinx survivors of intimate partner violence. Please help me welcome.
Hello. I just wanted to say it's going to be a very tough act to follow, Dr. Jerusalem, but we're going to try our best. So I wanted to begin by stating how grateful we are to be asked to share our thoughts on International Women's Day. And seeing all the women here makes us hopeful because it means that we all understand the value of celebrating the historical accomplishments of women. This year's International Women's Day theme is Breaking the Bias. Bias is an inclination or prejudice for or against one person or group. Gender bias refers to an individual receiving different treatment based on their gender identity. And this can look like when referring to an individual by their occupation, such as engineer, doctor, or CEO, and you assume that that person is a male. And while we all carry our own subconscious biases that are intrinsic to being human and are molded by our culture and upbringing, gender bias can have serious implications towards women. Historically, women have always been a crucial factor in creating a stable and developed society. And it's evident when we look back to the 30-year war struggle where Eritrea fought for independence. And 1/3 of the Eritrean army were made up of women. And even now, women continue to be instrumental in bringing light to the atrocities being done in Eritrea. And, it's not easy to challenge stereotypes and cliches put upon us, but society will not change unless we speak up and educate others on how harmful gender bias can be. Next, my friend Sophia is going to be presenting.
Okay. Thank you so much, Aya. We really appreciate your participation, and I know you waited a very long time. I apologize for the delay. We're going to have next after Aya, Sophia Bashir. Let me introduce her. If you are available, Sophia, we can't see you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Sophia Bashir is a mechanical engineer and a recent CSULB graduate born and raised in Southern California. Sophia currently serves as the executive secretary of New Era Long Beach, a community organization dedicated to the liberation of Black people in Long Beach and across the diaspora. She also serves as the community and education director of One Day Siyum, a youth and women-led organization campaigning to end human rights abuses committed against the people of Eritrea. Please help me welcome engineer Sophia Bashir. Go ahead, Sophia.
Thank you. So Black women are approximately 7% of the US population, but they're only less than 2% of scientists and engineers. Therefore, biases and discrimination can be very easily come in these fields. So, as a Black Muslim woman working in the engineering field, it can be really difficult. And I experience these biases on a daily basis. So it's definitely discouraging entering this field for the first time. And as I grew up, I noticed women are very underrepresented in these sectors. There's no TV shows, there's no films that feature Black women in STEM or in engineering as a doctor, like I touched upon earlier. And there's also a lot of reports of maltreatment of women in STEM. You know, there's unequal pay, discrimination, and it's just generally feeling very unsupported in the industry. But how can we overcome this, right? So obviously stereotypes, they won't disappear unless people understand how harmful they can be. So education is that powerful tool that we need to dismantle prejudice and racist ideas. So, you know, we have to help people understand and be aware of the experiences of the different marginalized groups. We also have to speak out against labeling and stereotypes. We have to use our voice, stand up for yourself. If you hear or witness stereotypes being perpetuated, then you have to speak up. And that's the only way people are really going to understand, unless you call them out in a way, right? And being complicit is contributing to the problem. So especially for all of the men who are listening, if you are a witness to any of these stereotypes being perpetuated, then you are part of the problem. So we have to be role models. We have to promote gender equality in our everyday lives, fight gender stereotypes. We also have to support other women. You know, if we have women in our life and, you know, they want to do something that's not necessarily in their gender role, you should support that regardless of their gender. You know, women in STEM and in other fields, we shouldn't be hidden. I want to definitely inspire more women who share these similar goals and paths, and encourage them to fulfill these dreams regardless of the biases or discrimination that they can face along the way. But the only way to really get there is to just break those barriers, to not be scared, speak up for yourself.
So next, we wanted to recite an excerpt from a poem called The Way Forward by Amanda Gorman. And the poem is about how crucial women are in paving the way forward in society. We don't need an invitation to make change in our neighborhoods, our cities, our nations. To reclaim our time, to make the climb, we're devoted to doers and doings, women and what they're pursuing. And in all the speeches, panels, and interviewing, there is the thunder of the movement that is brewing. We are not the sand, simply taking in the water of the sea it absorbs. We are the shore, we are the storm, the very form of change.
Women are that great foray toward what the world's been waiting for. We will not be slowed, come the loads, roadblocks, hills that may. We'll keep fulfilling this path until the world goes still to say, where there's will, there's women, and where there's women, there's always a way.
So yeah, we just wanted to recognize the contributions of women all over the world and celebrate the differences that we have.
Yeah, but we hope that, you know, we can all continue to do the work towards creating a world that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive. So thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so very much, Aya and Sophia. Your contribution is greatly appreciated. You are our hope for the future, and just keep marching, keep going, keep breaking the bias. The Dihri Zolo program, thank you so much again. The Dihri Zolo program, it's a poetry session. You can a special presentation ambassador حبرتيو جن هنا حجي دحر قرب دقائق فلايت وصل له خيلا ما قرب ربش عبيلاتنا قدمينا هنا member of إيوانا إياه introduce خد جبريات دلخي هنا عبد الرحمن go ahead تقع.
Okay, Hannah is Captain Ta'alasi ab Gorobete abs Misaiza ናይ ኮሚኒቲ አክቲቪስት ኣብ ልዕሊ እውን ዝሓለፈ እዋናት ቅድሚ ኮቪድ ኣብ ዝገበርናዮ ናይ 8 መጋቢት ኣብ ሳውዘርን ካሊፎርኒያ ዓብ ግደ ተጻዊታ ሕጂ እውን ገና ትቃለ ዘላ ኣባል እዋና ካብ ንጅምራት ሒዛ ስጋ ሕጂ ምሳና ዘላ ማህና go ahead. I'm honored to be working with you. ምሳኻ ሰርሕ ደስ ብለኒ. Go ahead.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. سلام مرحبا كلكم أحوات أحات نايلوم معلتي مدب كلكم عبالات إيوانا نزل مدب زي تعدم كنت ما تيخن زلخن سلام لكلكم نبلكن سلام عليكم فيلي زبلد ما مسجانا نزي أنا دالوتي نايلوم معلتي ناي إيوانا زجبرو أحواتي Thank you so very much. God bless you. It's not easy to go so God bless you for your efforts. أنا عبدالرحمن بهال تقمت Southern California. أبزي قالسي مساقتكن كمزي لك قرب كزارب مزن تزارب قدمي أحوات كمون دي عندك أي تزارب بتعمي توسخلو نجار بالليل ذات نقن عديتات أحوات أبز قدمي تزاربين كريان كل جزء قسم عن كبعتن إنسبريشن كركب كل جزء دس بلني نقول لك مسجلني فتو ناي بحكي مس ناي دكتور جيروسالم ويناي زين لك أي ناي كتب يوزنا برون تزارب كن زوسخي بالليل جن نيشتي كبركتو زخل دس لازم لأن نايلو معات دماني أقدس معات لازمنا إن نحن عنا عندك أنستيو قالي كسمع مستناتات كنت وصغو بمباليو زعمت زي أقول لهنا encourage كنا مالتيو زي جرحو زلو ناي breaking the bias زبل مالأختي نحنا أبناي لو معلتي كبري ناي عالماوي وي international معلتي ناي دك أنستيو زخبرلو بوتون قبون إيو نحنا زي الرحزي كان زوتران كان الزعربلو نيبل مالتيو for me اتحزالي حوسو سبيلة تقرنيان English كزاربي so for me I know women دكنستيو catalyst ناي change مخانا ممساتي لوت مخانا so in a day that we honor ونخبر International Women Day to speak about breaking bias is وانا وين بحكي the bias أنا الزعربلو زلو the bias that I want to break is that bias that I put myself and allow others to impose on me, and that is insignificant bias. زلنا بعلنا نحضره insignificant مالت دمانتاي مالتيو أبقمت أيتأتوني خيز بالعينة تصعونه زعنا نفسنا way society نعنا زسكمنا مالتيو نحنا our sense of identity is defined partly by our experiences and its exposure to different perspectives. We are all victims of people's bias views on us and towards us against others and بعلنا ونحنا bias نقبرن خالوتنا له. So we need to be true and authentic to ourselves. We need to remove the power زهبنايو عينة التحساسبة that أنا insignificant كم نجاري باللين زبل عينة التحساسبة استسكمنايو بعلنا وسوسايتي زسكمنا إذا عينة حيل زهبنايو نزح حصور bias تبهال نجار ولimitation بعلنا أن الpower كنتو أخن كإلا لنا خابو مالتي. So we need to remove that power that we imposed on it. فلذي أنا كمقال state Eritrea I need to break all bias that tell me I'm insignificant. My contribution is insignificant. زبر كنت أنا بزح يكون كمقال state. دمسي ما يدلني قسمع. My voice will not be heard. My opinion تترتي حساب يكون ناتي رئيته. It doesn't matter. مسكي قال state إخذ قمية بلون الكامت حات. We need to break this in our minds first. نحنا التحساسبة بعلنا إنا نتي change خنوم صونا زي عينة بايس كنك أول ما تخلنا بعلنا نحنا تي بايزي كنا الجوسة قبل حنقولنا حنقول لنا. We need to fight it coming from other people, from our families, from society as a whole. Because breaking these blocks of bias is what will allow us to rise up to the occasion. نحنا تقبل زبالة حيش زبالة صراحة كنسرح ندحر كنا إذا عينت حصورات زجبر لنا society ولا بعلنا بحنقولنا دخومات مخنا كلاتات كم زيبلنا أبواجا خم زينا إذا عينت bias كنزاربلو كنتطو كنكل دم لنا مالتي نحنا زندحر الجسنايو it's a greater more pronounced impact allow in shattering these injustices. مخنيات bias is a form of injustice. سلازي نحنا خمرك أنستيو we are the catalyst for change نبل ندحر كوينا إذا عينت زي نحنا تقاومنا ندحر الجسنايو نتي impact ناتو كاب بزل على خخوني خلي مالتي كاب سبعي زجبرة ويكاب كالت زجبرة مالتي مخنياتو تي impact نايدك أنستيو كلها هنا نفوتو إنا عابي مخانو. We know that change happens at the grassroots level. So with me, first it starts with me. A family, a community, a society as a whole. So I should say and believe that I am significant, I am important, I am crucial as a human being. Once I value me, then all unjust ዝኾነ ወገንነት ዘለዎ ምፍልላይ ዘለዎ ምንእኣስ ዘለዎ ምትሕሓት ዘለዎ ንደቂ ሰብ ንኹሉ ደቂ ሰብ all of this I will not allow ምክንያቱ ኣነ እንድሕር ዝቃወሙ ኮይነ ነዚ ንነብሳይ ኣፍቅዶኒ ንኻልኡና ኣፍቅዶኒ ስለዚ ኣነ ድማ ከኣምን ኣለኒ I have responsibility ጊደ ድማ ኣለኒ to break stereotype discrimination أنا خبره مش كجبروا اللهم كجدفوا اللهم زي كنا أنا بعلي بحر قريفيو نتخالقون كجدودة أنا خبرفو أنا بإمنتي you fight injustice what I said bias is a form of injustice through action بجبري كنك أوامر كلا لأن تزبلت من جدي وجباب نايم كلاس زخون عينة injustice bias stereotype discrimination دمانتاي بجبري خنقبره أي كأل كان دماني بملحسكة السؤال أي كأل كان دماني بلبخا وين كتقاوم كتكيل عليك كن كتقاوم سي عليك مالتي تملختي ስለዚህ እዚ ኣነ ዝኣምነሉ ማለት እዩ as an Eritrean woman I see bias of any form as a threat in hindering progress ንዓና ዘዛሕትለና ንዓና እቲ ጥምረትና disrupt ዝገብሮ እዚ ዓይነት ነቲ ዩኒቲ ናሕና ዝበታትኖ እዚ ዓይነት bias እዩ እቲ bias ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ንሕና እንድሕር ተቃሊስናዮ ብካብቲ መሰረቱ እንድሕር ክንቃለሶ ኮይና ብነፍስና ጀሚርና እቲ ዝዓበየ ናጽነት ብልዮ ዝዓበየ victory ክንገብሮ ንኽእል ንሕና ኢና በኣና እዩ ክምስረት ማለት እዩ ስለዚ no matter what our backgrounds our individual stories we're all connected by our desire to be treated equally and justly and we are connected by the dream for a better future معنا ደቂ ኣንስትዮ for girls for our daughters for mothers come on our sisters and all people no matter iti ቃልሲ ንሕና ንገብሮ እቲ ውጽኢትናቱ ብዝያዳ ኣብ ሕብረተሰብ ክረአ ዝኽኣል በኣና እዩ ስለዚ ንሕና ተሓሊምናዮ ነዚ ዓይነት ለውጢ ክንገብር ነዚ ዓይነት ምቅዋም እዚ ንእሽተይ ይኹን ዓብይ ይኹን ባየስ ዘለና ናይ ድሑራት ኣብ ዝበለጠ ንሕና ክንበጽሕ ንኽእል ማለት እዩ so I'm going to end with a part of a quote by Harriet Tubman ዝበለቶ so every great dream begins with a dreamer أنا حجي تدريم لو تممسا وي unbiased مخان دريم كخون يقبأني جن كم دريم وانت قصيرنا يو إلى إذنتي أكوتي دس لازبلتني مسخن shares قبراز له so every great dream begins with a dreamer always remember you have within you the strength the patience the passion to reach for the stars to change the world سلازي أحواتي تينلكن سمع كنان بزح ندخبركو breaking the bias starts with me يا خبل دلي thank you سلازي let's break the bias بحادو خلنا نصرح بحادو خلنا إذا عينت من أسن نعنا زير بحنا كاب نفسنا جميعنا خنق على سخن فتن نكبر كبليز thank you so much and this is the sign نايدات الروح زياد so let's break the bias بحنساب thank you
it was a great نتا event تملكتها أسمعكنا يا أنيلنا thank you very much